I'm going to start this episode off with a confession. I don't have a close-up shot of a goal net that I can distribute. The problem of not having a clip can often happen in the field too, especially when discussing hypotheticals. Fortunately, the virtual stadium is here to give us the freedom we need. So although most of what I'll be showing today will be in the virtual stadium, all of it applies to track clips. As you can see, the virtual stadium is not only great at in-goal analysis, but also has many other uses. A particular favourite of mine is those big field kicks we see in many field sports. In most cases, a good key and calibration will be needed, especially if you're doing a close-up of a goal with the grid. To get started, click on the virtual grid effect in the effects panel, and a red grid will appear on screen. This is our virtual grid, unlocking the virtual plane. At the bottom, there is a handle which allows us to drag the grid along the pitch. Let's start with some field kicks. Either from my own analysis or my clip, I have some ball trails representing options for my player. In the Marker tab in the Parameter panel, you will see some familiar marker customization with several marker styles, including the image marker for custom assets. Unlike other effects, each marker in the virtual grid can be individually customized. Clicking again in the grid, I can place more markers. Notice how the most recently placed has its handle highlighted in yellow. When the marker properties are changed, the highlighted marker will be affected. Use the arrow keys to cycle between markers. Press the A key to select all at once. The Text tab reveals text customization for the highlighted marker. Player numbers or statistical percentages are great here, but of course you can put whatever you like. In my case, I think I'll leave it blank. The Goal tab is only relevant if we've snapped the effect into the goal, so I'll get back to that later. For this analysis, I want to have an arrow aligned with my grid. When I add a freehand arrow, it will deselect my grid, making it hard to line up. The vertical grid has a feature just for this. In the Properties tab, check Show Grid to Other Effects. Now, when I go back on my freehand arrow, I can see the red grid. A neat little trick here is to drag the freehand arrow so you have 3 or 4 handles. Then we can drag them and use the mouse wheel to add height. Do note that Show Grid to Other Effects will hide the handles in the virtual grid, so we'll want to turn this off again if we want to edit the virtual grid markers. In the Properties tab, you can raise the height of the grid as needed. And with that, we have our virtual grid showing our kick options. This can be used in a variety of angles. Now let's look at an in-goal analysis. Like before with a calibrated clip or virtual stadium, select the virtual grid effect. This time we will use the grid position to snap it to the left goal. And with that, I can start adding markers. Dividing this into a 3x3 grid gives me the look I'm looking for. In the Goal tab, check Show Laser Grid. Note that the virtual grid must be snapped into a goal for this to work. This time I'll use the text to add percentages to show where our striker is likely to kick the ball based on his previous goals. If you do your marker customization at the start, it will be copied to the others. However, we can easily edit all of them at once by pressing A. Another good use for this is to show teams' historical goals and put player jersey numbers in here. Let's speed up these last ones. Finally, it's worth mentioning that the virtual grid is integrated with the Opta plugin. For example, I can show who scored the goals in this match, or I could do a heat map of the player's season goals. The Opta plugin will automatically use the virtual grid when needed. And that concludes this episode on the virtual grid. I hope you enjoy your newfound freedom in the virtual plane.